Hey, if you're trying to figure out how to grow your business, the most common advice you'll ever hear is to simply open another location. Sometimes that works. It works pretty frequently. But what most owners don't see is where that path can often start to break. That's what we're talking about today. Stick around.
This is the Franchise Pitfalls and Profit Show. Each week, we bring you the challenges and triumphs of being in the franchise development and consulting business. The things you need to make money faster. And now your host, one of the most successful franchise developers in North America, Don Shin.
Hey, welcome back to Franchise Pitfalls and Profits. This is the show about real mechanics, about growth and scaling, how to build the right way, how to avoid mistakes that quietly eat away at good businesses, how to avoid the common things that those of us who have been in business for a long time know about, can help you avoid those pitfalls. And also the mechanics involve creating systems and the right, what I like to call architecture of a business that can actually scale, not simply grow somewhat, but actually scale. So that's what Franchise Pitfalls and Profits is all about. And again, I'm Don Shin. Hey, let's just dive right in and get started. If you're a business owner and you're thinking about how to grow your business, how to scale your business, first of all, I applaud you, because most business owners, most founders of business never really stop or slow down long enough to think about it. They think about the one path that seems the most obvious, and that's just add another location. It is a natural next step. There's no doubt about it. You've got one location working really well. You've built a customer base. You've got momentum. You think you could go out into another location and find that same customer base. Hey, let's just rinse and repeat. Let's just do it all over again. And to be clear, again, sometimes that works and can work really well. But why does this path feel right? If you're trying to grow one location to multiple locations, not just to a second one, the path makes sense because it's familiar, it's proven in some cases, at least in one place, your business has worked. And it feels like control will stay with you. It's just another location. It's just another office, another territory. You're not really changing your business. You're just doing more of it. And again, for a while, that is exactly what it feels like. But here's where things, I believe, where things do start to change. And we talk about the things that most business owners aren't seeing. So this is a shift that most business owners don't expect and often don't even see it coming. When you go from one location to two, you haven't just grown your business, you've actually starting to change the nature of your business. You're no longer simply running a business. You're now actually managing multiple teams, because the team that's done it in your current locale is not probably the team that's going to another area to do it. You're now managing multiple locations. It's a different vibe. It's a different challenge. You're actually finding multiplication of your problems. If you've been able to manage the business and do well in this location, doing it from a distance is harder. And actually different markets are going to often bring up different sets of problems that maybe you haven't dealt with. And also, again, you're still dealing with the problems where you are. And that is a shift that is much bigger than most business owners expect or anticipate. and this is a pattern that I've seen over and over again. Things start to break then, and not like all at once. All of a sudden, one day you go in and whoa, baby. No, it's gradual. And there are four things that I believe you're going to see or experience if this is what you're doing. One of them is, and we talked about this in a prior episode, you become the bottleneck again. Everything runs through you. The decisions, hiring. Again, you're going to obviously have to hire, problem solving, depending on how you set up. But even if you set up a decent core team, you're now setting up another whole new team that doesn't know as much as your core team knows. So again, boom, the decision making circles back around to you. The problem solving circles back around to you. The bottom line here on this point of you being the bottleneck is that things just are multiplying now. It's not just addition, it's multiplication. A second point that you're going to experience, second thing I think you're going to experience is that inconsistencies start to show up as you're growing. What worked in a single location will not always transfer to a second unit, second location. Things don't simply transfer all that smoothly as you're operating 2 or 3 locations. You've got different people, they're inexperienced. You have different dynamics sometimes in different markets, and the execution just turns out to be different. So all of this brings inconsistency into your business that you didn't have before with simply one location. A third point is that culture gets much harder to maintain. At one location, you're there, your presence is there, what you expect is there, how to deal with clients is there, your culture is natural. But when you're at 3 or 4 locations, you've got to build culture very deliberately or very intentionally. So, as I said, what your experience is, you're the bottleneck again. Inconsistencies are growing. Cultures got to be deliberate and maintained and worked on, and that's harder. And the fourth thing you're going to experience is a complexity that outpaces your capability. And this is a big one. This might be the one that trips most people up. The business gets more complex faster than your systems are getting better. Again, let me state that again. The business gets more complex faster than your systems are able to get better, or that your systems are able to catch up. Margins get tighter. Stress across the organization increases. And growth just starts to weigh you down. It just starts to be heavier than you thought it should be, and heavier than it really is. But you're starting to feel this down upon you and your people. Again, you're probably not going to 100% duplicate exactly what you've got at your first location. And these people are now going to be taking on added work and added responsibilities. So your core team is going to start to feel stressed, and that this work is getting heavier and heavier and harder. So now here's the important part. Here's the point, and what I think is the real issue. The problem isn't that multiple location growth doesn't work, because it does. And in some cases it does. There are plenty of businesses out there that have scaled successfully in this way. But the problem is that most owners choose this path by default, not by decision. And so it's the obvious path. And again, most founders, most owners take it, but they don't pause long enough to consider, is this the right path or the right way for my business to scale? Do I want to manage multiple locations? A big one is that, do I have the systems and the architecture to support what looks like we're doing and how we're growing and what's coming down the pike? Is there a better way to do this? Is there a better way to grow? So, is this where everything I've been talking about this year on this podcast, this is where all of this starts to come together? If growth is unexamined, if growth, if you're not pausing to think about a predictable growth and really scalability of your business rather than just growth. If you're sensing and you're starting to see that you are becoming the bottleneck, again, everything is funneling down in through you. If you're trying to, or if you're seeing that you're losing yourself, you're losing all the fun and the enjoyment, the reasons you started the business, the culture and what you project in your marketplace. If you're losing you and the things that are you about your business in this process of growth, then the issue isn't effort. The issue is alignment. Because opening more locations doesn't just grow your business. It really defines what kind of business that you're building. It defines what kind of an owner that you have become. So before you open a second or a third location, what I'm going to come to you and ask you to do is, before committing to a path or just, and default, not pausing and making a decision is a decision. Before you get to that place, there's a bigger question that I want you to ponder. I want you to put some serious thought into this. Is this the only way to grow? Or is it just the most obvious one that you're aware of? Because in the next episode, what we're going to talk about is another path that some owners consider, and that is franchising your business. And just like opening another location, this is very, very powerful. Actually, it's much more powerful than just letting your business kind of naturally grow. But I would caution, it's often misunderstood. Some owners consider it. A lot of people don't. Very few people understand it. And that's why it rarely comes up on somebody's radar. But it's something that many of you should consider. So before you dismiss it, go, that's not me. Or before you have just jumped in. I've seen numerous situations where, where a customer has come in and said, wow, you should franchise your business. I'd be your first one to buy one. We just really need to look at it more clearly and in a more structured or systemic way. So let me just close with this. And again, the question that I want to leave with you, the question I want you to reflect on is that, are you expanding by simply adding another location because it's the right thing to do? It's the right strategy for your business, or are you doing it just because it's the easiest one or the one that you happen to see? Those are not the same thing. And I really want you to consider, to pause or at least slow down a little bit. Don't necessarily have to stop your momentum or your growth, but at least pause a little bit and start to reflect on these key questions. So, hey, folks, if this episode has struck you as something that's really, really helpful and important, if you know other business owners, please give them the link to this episode, because we want to help as many people down this path to predictable scaling and not just the obvious natural slower growth. Because the earlier that business owners and founders get this, the earlier they see this clearly, then honestly, the fewer things you're going to have to fix later on. So share this with other people in your business circles, in your business community. And if you've gotten value from this, if you are not one of our already existing 12,000 subscribers to the podcast, please go ahead and subscribe. If you have questions, please post them. If you have comments, I would love to hear your comments about what we're talking about today or in prior episodes. We really want you to engage with what we're doing here. And I wish you well. And again, stick around, because if you've ever been told you should franchise your business, or if you've ever even had a fleeting thought about franchising your business, you're going to want to be around for the episode next week. All the best.